This is Shine 309, presented by Fly Square Media. I'm your host, Dylan Elliott, and I'm excited to introduce today's next guest. I got my man, Donovan Muldrow. He is a CEO of a life-changing business. He's a serial entrepreneur. One of his many endeavors is Southside Don Productions, is how he got on my radar. We're both video folks, and I have seen his work, and we're going to speak on that more in a second.
Yes, sir.
He is a success coach, a public speaker, a published author, and most recently an ordained minister.
Cool.
He's a self-proclaimed open book, and that's why we got him here today. We want to hear more about it.
Let's go.
Donovan, welcome.
Man, it's a beautiful, beautiful time, man. Just being alive, doing what it is that you do, and congregating, working with other people who are also doing what they do. And it's important that things like this happen more often to show people that it is okay to live your life and to do what it is that you do and to be passionate about it too, you know? So that's one side of the brain. And then bringing that together, the logistics part. So now you got purpose. And so when you lead your life with purpose, man, you got two brothers in a room leading their life with purpose. Oh,
Who knows what's going to happen? I like
That's
that
right.
you said the two sides of the brain.
That's
I
right.
read The Whole Brain Child because I was trying to be a better parent.
okay.
Are you familiar with it?
I am not. Tell me more.
What I loved about that book was I read it to learn some parenting stuff, right? I'm like, I've been at this a little while. I should have read this years ago. And it's not just a parenting book because it'll have parenting advice, but then it'll be like the page will be grayed out, and it gives you the science of the physiology of the brain and it explains how it works. The whole idea of it is two sides of the brain. You got
Okay.
your logical side and your numbers and your facts.
Right.
Then you got your emotional creative side or whatever.
That's right.
And it's you want to integrate it. You want to constantly be going back and forth because when you get too logistical and you're not tapping into that emotion, you're too rigid.
That's right.
Or when you're hysterical or you're a young person and you're crying, you're mad, you're being too emotional and you're not thinking practically or you're not using your logic, right? So you got to integrate them. And it's a highly recommend to any parent. You got to read The Whole Brain Child, but to anybody that wants to know how the brain works and what this human experience is about, The Whole Brain Child's where it's at.
That's
Highly
a beautiful
recommend
thing.
it. So it's
That's
funny
a
you mentioned
beautiful
that.
thing. Let's go.
Funny you mentioned that. And so you being here, man, I mentioned Southside Don Productions. I believe that's how you got put on my radar. I'm a video guy. I like to see what other video guys are doing.
All right.
And I don't remember where you were in your journey when I saw it, but I was like, Don's doing his thing, and I saw your work. And more recently, I just got to hand it to you. I'm bad at self-promoting. It's part of why I'm doing this.
Let's go.
No, your little behind the scenes videos, and I don't mean to say little, not disparaging
you
at all.
good. I
Your behind the
appreciate
scene videos are fantastic. You're good at promoting yourself.
That's what's up.
One, you hop on camera and you spit knowledge saying,
Yeah.
here's how video provides you value. Here's what I could do, which is part of the game, and that's great. But you also do just your own behind the scenes stuff. Like I saw you did a lacrosse video for some kids recently in the community,
That was
and
dope.
just those little jewels and those little gems. I'm like, man, I need to do more of that. And so just you in your own words, man, tell me more about your business and what you do with Southside Don.
Yeah. Southside Down. Well, first of all, my whole mission in life, which I've come to understand and put it into so many words, is simply like this. The reason that I am here is to give people a chance to live the kind of life that they want to live. Now, that's a very wide open, it's not specific, right? Which means that whatever kind of skill set that I acquire, I can use that to fulfill that purpose. So that's why I have all these different things. And I know you mentioned just a few of them, but those are the highlights, right? But that's how I view myself and my place in this world. And, you know, once you understand your place in life, in society, like nobody can tell you shit. You understand? So for me, Southside Down Productions came as a necessity. Okay. As a coach, I've been personal training people since 2007. So I'm coming up on the 20-year mark. It started when I was at Illinois State, and I was looking to find a job. This is my sophomore year, 2007, and I sat down at the campus dining table, Southside campus dining, which is actually, that's what it was called too. So Southside Don had nothing to do with the campus and the place where it was on the map. But Act and Kobe, Hamwit and stuff like that. And I was asking I was like, oh man, I got a couple more years until I graduate. So I started asking myself these questions that pretty much anybody can ask. And that was, what is it that I like to do? What is it that I want to do, and how I can get paid for it, right? And so I was like, okay, I like to get swole. I like to help people get swole. And so there was this ad for personal trainer position open at the rec center. So when I answered that, that's the route that I went. So that's when my coaching career started. Later on, social media popped up and I started doing Instagram, and I realized the value of Instagram. I also noticed that where I was working at, where I currently operate out of, which is the factory gyms. Shout out to Chad Hobbs. It's the Athlete Factory, the PT Factory, which, personal training, and the factory, which used to be CrossFit Bloomington-Normal. And I was like, yo, so I'm under this roof with all these different coaches, all these different trainers. I need to do something to set myself apart. So I had an iPhone 7 at the time, and I went up on Amazon to get a light stand and a phone holder, and I started doing my own videos. And a buddy of mine from college, shout out to Coach Kevin, he's over there at Naperville Central as a tennis coach. They won state a couple years ago. And he was like, yo, at the time he was at Larkin High School, and he was like, man, I really love your videos. I want to do a promo for this tennis team to get kids excited. And he was like, how much would you charge for it? I'm like, I never did anything like that, man. So he sent me his iPhone footage, and I just put it together with some copyright-free music and sent it back to him, and he paid me $50 for it. I was like, that took nothing. You know what I mean? Because I was already used to making my own videos. So I say all that to say, if you want to get started, start with self. Do for yourself.
When you say copyright music, just out of curiosity, do you pay for any third-party assets, or when you're operating in that creative space, what tools do you use at your disposal?
So at the time I was using Splice. So whatever, which is a iPhone or a in your phone app service, a video production service in your phone, and whatever songs or music that came with the app, that's what I would use. As of right now, I do use a lot of Envato Elements, as well as at the time I would go up on YouTube and I would rip music from YouTube that were no copyright, so that's how I started it. But as of right now, I would say mostly I use a lot of you talk about the lacrosse team, that was some audio and some music from Envato Elements.
Is that a paid service?
Yeah, it's a paid service. It's a subscription service. Some people might have heard of some of the other ones. Epidemic Sound, I think, is what it's called. So that's the easiest way to get all the different kinds of sounds and music based off of what type of videos that you want to produce for your clients, so that way they don't get in trouble when they upload it to their YouTube and they're like, what's going on with my video? It's not working. Things that which I've actually had, in some cases, but definitely learning how the world works, especially the digital world works. Everything is ran by AI now, pretty much. So they don't have lawyers that they need to listen. They will flag it, and it won't be showing up in certain countries. And I'm like, as long as it shows up in America, I'm good, because that's where the business is right now.
Does that service only do music and sound effects, or does it have other digital assets?
Oh yeah, they have digital assets. They have if you are in the fashion space, and you have like a graphic design artist, maybe somebody like yourself perhaps, and you create a logo for somebody and they want to put it on a shirt, they have like models that have like those blank shirts, and then your logo can show up on it. Now you can use that and put it in Canva, or make your own poster with it, or what have you. So it's extremely versatile.
And I know there's a bunch of them. I always use the example. I'm like, Ford, Chevy, or Toyota. It's what you're introduced to and what you're influenced by. Sure. I gravitated. I don't know why I chose it. I use Motion Array. And it's similar. It's got sound. It's got music, sound effects. It's got templates. It's got motion graphics.
Yep.
Back early in my video creating journey, I dabbled with motion graphics, but I was like, that's another whole skill set. I felt like I got to get further in the game, build out a team, and I'll have my motion effects guy. Well, then one day I was just like, I need some motion. I need some motion graphics. So I just got my hands dirty and I learned motion graphics. I'm not great at it. I don't do it from scratch, which I can't honestly imagine building that stuff from scratch. But I can rotoscope. That's where you like go frame by frame, make something disappear and move, slight animation. Or you use those templates and then you can swap out the assets and customize them for the client
type thing.
And they're fantastic. They're shiny, they're pretty. And I went through a production. I gave Buddy 3 different versions, had all these sexy motion graphics, and it's cool. And they were like, well, we like that, but it doesn't match our brand. We're not shiny and we're not polished like that. We want it dialed back a little bit more. I was like, well, if you just want your logo to pop up, that's cool. Because I had sexy 3-dimensional shiny stuff over here. And they're like, baby, that's not what we want. So I was like, I'm happy just to make your logo pop up.
Exactly.
But I like those digital asset things because it's neat. It's a tool to enhance your creativity. But then again, it's Ford, Chevy, or Toyota. There's so many of them. So I was curious which one you used.
Sure.
And then we mentioned Justin Porter earlier. Shout out Justin Porter. I might get into him in a little bit. Google, look him up. Anybody in the creative space or looking to get wedding videos made, Justin Porter is the man. And I just outright asked him, so when I get musical assets, it's a song. I can put the track in and I can fade it up or down.
Right.
There's what they call, are you familiar with, I think it's stems?
Oh, yeah.
So then you get the drums, you get the guitar. You can almost be a music producer and you can fade it in and out. You can keep that beat going, but you bring all the other sounds down, and it just gives you so much more fluidity, flexibility, and options.
Yes.
I play with stems some, but that's somewhere else as a creator. I need to, like how I dipped into motion graphics, I need to get more comfortable doing sound design and playing with sound and manipulating sound. Because when you get into those stems, it just gives you so many more options with how you can manipulate the audio for a video.
Yeah. And along those lines, shout out to my dude Yodi. He created, he's an artist, a musical artist, and he does some video work too, as of late that I've been seeing him. So, shout out to him. But he created a whole album of stems, and it was like within that week that he finished all those songs and he gave it to me to use for the content that I create for the gym, because I'm essentially the multimedia specialist over at the factory gyms, right? So we do monthly recap videos, essentially, or highlight reels, if you will, of like for the week or the different movements. And there were some segments that we would do called it's basically just mic'd up, right? So we have the coaches, the athlete factory coaches mic'd up, and they're having conversations, or we're showing the audience how they coach. Shout out to all the coaches, Sean, Nick, Connor, and Chad, and those are the main guys over there, and they do a phenomenal job. And to add a little bit of emotion and feel, because one thing that I heard from before that's absolutely true is music is the one thing that can touch your soul without your permission. Like you could just sit there just chilling and your toe will be tapping. You're like, what? Like that, like, remember Beetlejuice?
Yeah.
And Beetlejuice is trying to scare them to get out. And then like next thing you know, they're all dancing. They're like, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. Like, that's how I view music in everyday life. I have different kinds of music for different kinds of things. And so being able to use those stems, it was able to give a little more substance and context and feel and vibe to what it is that people are consuming. So, stems are definitely a game changer for me in that regard.
Funny you say that too. I heard someone, this is just recently, talk about when you get in a car and you're looking for a song, you're trying to mood match. Yes. Like if you're thinking about a girl or something, you want that little R&B funkiness, or like if you're fired up, like a gym music. Exactly. People want that high energy music when you're going to the gym. And I was like, I'm in my young 40s, baby. And I still like that was news to me. And I was like, it made so much sense. It's one of those, you open that door, you're like, like I had never considered that you're mood matching.
Yeah.
And those vibrations in music, I like that. You said
That's
it can touch you without your permission.
That's right.
That's nice.
That's right. It's the same thing with lighting. You know, like it's an experience that you want people to create. And it's in essence what you're doing is you're helping people experience you. Because you're the creator of the video. Like your clients will tell you what the feel is. It's kind of like Hans Zimmer. And for those of you that have like HBO Max or anything like that, as of right now, he has a documentary out. And the most recent movies, Dune, right? Created by Christopher Nolan, who is hands down one of the, like, I think he's my most favorite director. Right, in films. Dune was created from Hans Zimmer's music. So it actually reverse engineered it. Usually guys like John Williams, right? We're talking about Indiana Jones. We're talking about the theme for Jurassic Park, Star Wars, Harry Potter, like dude did Jaws. Like he usually watches the footage first and then put in the music, which is pretty much kind of like how we do it. To a certain degree, he'll make the music first based off of, like, he got a note, I think, from Christopher Nolan. And based on what he was feeling from the synopsis of the movie, he would create the sound first. And I might be mistaken by this, but as I was watching, I was processing it as the movie kind of went along with the music and the different sounds and just alien-like and stuff like that. So they actually had to create different things in order to match the mood, but without ever actually seeing it. So it just goes to show that it's not so much what we're seeing, it's more of what we're feeling.
And just to piggyback on the sound kind of theme we're talking about here, I actually went to film school, so I'm classically trained.
Oh, okay.
And they say that audio is half a video.
That's right.
And it almost like when you're a visual artist and you're behind camera and camera department, I'm a visual artist. I drew before I ever picked up a camera. Okay. And not to say I didn't agree. I'm like, I'm going to challenge your notion of audio is half a video, but it really is, because exactly what you're saying. You can look at the exact same visual, but the audio, you switch that background track, it makes a world of difference. Right. And then in addition to that, you see a movement. You just see that movement versus if there's a that little sound design, that little sound effect just causes so much more impact and it's much more dynamic. And there's definitely something to be said for sound and what it brings to video.
That's right. And that's, I believe, like when I see a lot of, highlight reels and stuff like that, living on, Instagram and Facebook for the most part, that is one thing that I don't see a lot of, which is the sound effects, which is that, that little whoosh sound or a sound that lets you know that a scene has transition or a mood has transition. Let's say you're videotaping a certain sport, right? Like certain sounds can let you know that a moment is coming up in a video, and I want you to pay attention to this because this is going to be dope.
The way you plugged Hans Zimmerman, I'm familiar with him. Yeah. I'm a cinema guy. Yeah. And then I just couldn't. I had a brain fart. I had to look it up. Sorry, I was on my phone.
Oh, no, you get.
You know Danny Elfman?
Oh, let's go.
Danny Elfman, it's the soundtrack to so many amazing movies. And then I didn't realize he was the voice of Jack Skellington. Yeah. So when he sounds like, I've seen that movie dozens of times. And so I'm like, oh, wait, Buddy did his voice too. I don't think he was the voice actor, but he was the voice in the songs. Yeah. And I'm like, I know him because Alice in Wonderland. I'll keep that story in my back pocket.
Oh, okay.
But I saw the Alice in Wonderland movie once upon a time, the one with Johnny Depp, and I know he scored that. And I'm very familiar with Danny Elfman. His name pops up one of the very first credits, and he kills it in these major Hollywood productions. That's right. So then, fast forward several years later, I grew up on A Nightmare Before Christmas, and then however it was drawn to my attention, I'm like, oh, Buddy voiced the songs of that. I'm like, he's just wildly good at what he does. He's amazing at his craft. That's why I just looked it up.
Yeah,
and then I'm going to rewind that too. Earlier when you were talking about finding purpose, finding something you enjoy doing, and then finding something you can make money off of. There's a Japanese phrase for it. I've heard it. Futuristic, local talent that moved to Arizona and blew up. Okay. He named his album after it. It's Ikigai. It's a Japanese phrase. I hope I'm pronouncing it right.
Okay.
And it's exactly that. It's one of those Venn diagrams where you got the circles. You're like, what in your life do you enjoy doing?
Yeah.
What can provide value to others?
Yes.
And then what can you actually monetize? When they all overlap,
So dope.
that's the best place to be in, because it's the best of all three worlds. You're providing value. You're doing something you enjoy. You can make a living off of it.
Yes, sir.
And they got a word for it.
Yes, sir. Ooh. And that's one thing that I do, arigato. That's one thing that I do appreciate about other cultures and things of that sort, is that, for me personally, not to get too deep in it, but when
deep in it, baby. Come on.
when we talk about the truth, like, my personal belief is that the more people that you converse with, you learn more things. You learn more things about yourself and about the world. So it seems to me that collectively we are the truth. The truth is, as they say, the truth is out there, right? Conversely, somebody who's in their head all the time, they don't go anywhere, they don't interact with people, they generally have one way of thinking. They generally have one way of doing things, and they feel kind of stuck. They feel like that they can't go anywhere. They're in the prison of their own minds. And so being able to simply do all the things and learn from different people, even just having conversation, it's not so much about learning what they got going on. It's learning more about yourself and the way that you think and the way that you operate, which is why I don't live in a box. I am the box. Whatever it is that comes to me, that speaks to me, that fulfills my purpose, which is to give people a chance to live the kind of life that they want to live. If that is within my skill set, within my wheelhouse, then that's something that I'm inclined to do. And jumping back to the lacrosse thing, how I got into that, I have a client, a personal training client, and he was the former coach of the lacrosse team. His son graduated, so he's since then, taken a step back. However, he's very much so involved in the sport. He really believes in it. So, and we were also talking about chess and everything like that, thinking ahead. So he bought himself a car, a 2024 brand new Chevy Camaro RS drop top, and he brought it to the gym. We did a little tour, and right there I was like, oh, I got to do a video on this.
I saw your video with the Chevy. Go ahead.
And a photo shoot. So check this out. So I said, hey, meet me at the top of the garage, over there by Rosie's pub, right? The parking deck. So we're at the top of the parking deck, and he rolls up. His son is driving the car. So we do the photo shoot first. I'm doing my behind the scenes, as you've seen. And then we do the video. Now we do the rolling shots. I'm using my DJI Osmo Pocket 3. I have it's essentially a phone holder and a magnet, so it can stick to my car, right? So we're rolling around, and I've got him on one of my phones, my iPhones, and the other one that I kind of retired, but I'm using as like a backup. So I'm using my phone as like a walkie-talkie. So as he's driving behind me, I can also Bluetooth the footage from the camera to my phone. So I'm driving, and I'm like keeping track and making sure, hands-free, of course. And and so as soon as we're done, we're driving down Main Street, like South Main. And I'm like, hey, I've got all the footage that we need. I'm like, we're good to go. And so they just drove off, and that was it. And then I just handled everything on the back end, come out with the footage, come out with the pictures and things like that. He goes, hey, so I got this lacrosse team, and I want to do a promo for it so we can get kids excited about the new season. And then, that's how I got into that. I never charged him for the work for the car, because I said this is something I wanted to do. I wanted to get into the space. It's going to be dope. It's also going to be memories for your son, which he had just turned like 20 or 21, like a week or two after that. So it was like a thing. It was something that went after his emotions, but it was also value. It was him. It was going to be pictures and videos of him in his car that he bought for himself for working where he was working for 20 years as a senior VP. You know what I'm saying? Like, big time stuff. And he got that value from me that he thought of me to do the photo shoot and video shoot for the boys and girls lacrosse team.
Nothing but upside. No.
Nothing but upside.
That's what I love that. I just had a conversation with a young man who's trying to enter our video space.
Okay.
And a long time ago, I heard a bad piece of advice that I leaned on for a while.
Okay.
And then I've learned better. And what it was is early in my journey, you know, you're trying to get money for your skills and your services, right? And then somebody somewhere said, if you do it for free, they won't respect it. Yeah, so I was running around with my hand out for years. And then I learned, and somebody somewhere, I don't know, I had a paradigm shift. I thought twice. And then now I got a completely different philosophy. I say free is key. There's so many opportunities that can be presented to you just by doing a little bit of free work. And now you're trying to run a business. You got a life to live. You got a finite amount of number of hours to do things. So don't just be out here giving free work all day long and don't shoot yourself in the foot.
Right.
Do it with strategy. Do it with intent.
Yeah.
But I did a project for somebody. I went out and shot an event for them for just a couple hours, and then I went home and edited it. It was 8 to 10 hours tops, maybe been 6 hours for a day of work, just to present them something here. I like what you're doing. I was inspired.
Yeah.
I know you're making moves out here. And part of it wasn't douchey, like I'm going to do this and I'm going to get something. I was sincerely interested in what he's doing.
Yeah.
But I also saw this could lead to opportunity.
That's right.
And I want to do something cool and be on his radar. So with that intent, free is key. Just to get on Buddy's radar.
Yes.
I did a video for him. And then they wanted to sit down and talk to me. So I was like, oh, I'm going to spit them a big package. Like I thought I was doing something big, right? I legit went into Google Documents and I created a presentation for them. This was several years ago back in business when I was still brand new to what I was doing. And like, then I was like, I'm killing it. Look at me. Like I'm going so far out of my comfort zone. I'm sitting down with these people. I'm presenting them with this thing. And like, I was anxious about it. I had my whole presentation. I sat down with him and his business partners, which is intimidating by itself.
Okay.
And I get that side of it too. If me and you were partners, we're sitting across the table grilling somebody. That's a different experience than a one-on-one conversation.
Right.
But so I sat across from them and the business partners, and that conversation changed. Here's my little proposition, my little plan. They moved that aside and they offered me a contracted position for a year. And it wasn't big dollars, but it was decent money.
Yeah.
And it was the biggest opportunity of my career at that point.
There you go.
And then it was off a free video. And then the thing about that opportunity too is while I worked for them, I got to work right alongside these people who had a big organization with multiple businesses. I created all their content for a year. So one, I created more volume of content than I ever had at that point in my life. And two, I worked right along the higher ups. I was right there with the HR people, with all the managers and the owners weekly. So I got to see the inner operations of a big organization and how they operate, how they market, how they manage their talent, how they acquire new talent. All of that I would have never have gotten had I not gave Buddy that free piece of content. So don't play yourself.
Wow.
Free is key. And the way I say it is what I say. Oh man, I had so blah. This is why I didn't want to do this, Don. No, I say an open hand will get you places. Man, I had a little catchphrase for it.
You know what? I know exactly where you're going. I don't remember the entirety of the of the phrase, which I mean, but yeah, I'm tracking with you, and to go along with that, like right now, I'm working with probably the largest client that I have ever had, and that is a Marriott.
I saw that. That is a good look.
Dog.
I saw that.
Dog. So it just so happened that the general manager for the hotel, and this is the one in Uptown, the big one, right across from the Hyatt, right? I was doing my camera work, and he was like, hey, because he only knew me, shout out to McGiddy, he only knew me as a coach. Fair enough. A lot of people don't know what I got going on. You understand me? And that's the beauty of discovery, right? Instead of being out here telling people what you do, just let them find out on their own, because that's what creates interest. When you're going on a date, you don't spend 3 hours on the phone with them. You just, basically let everything be discoverable through natural interaction. And so I'm walking around the corner with my camera, and he's like, "Oh, what's that?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm doing video work." He's like, "Video work?" He's British, right? And so I was
you was doing the accent. That was the accent.
that was a little Sean Connery. I was like, video work. No, that's still Sean Connery. But I was like, I do videography, photography, and I showed him my website and my IG and things like that. He's like, huh. I'm looking to do, we're doing some remodeling, right? Because it hasn't been, the Marriott in Uptown hasn't been remodeled in years. And so he was like, I'm going to need some before the remodel work and then after, so that way people can, I'm like, oh yeah, simple, easy. Never done that in my life. But because, I subscribe myself as a problem solver. I'm not a video guy, right? The camera is my tool, right? It's like a hatchet. You can fight people off with it. You can cut trees with it. You can, it's like a knife. Like you can slice up food and prep food with it. You know what I'm saying? So he was like, yeah, I need pictures. I'm like, all I heard was, I need pictures. I know how to do that. I know how to work a flash on a camera, right? And it's a room, so it's gonna be exactly as it is. Just do a few clicks, different exposures, some blending, and we're done. They started the remodeling process in November. He hits me up last week Monday, and he's like, hey, I'm ready for some sneak peek pics to get people excited. I'm like, shoot. He's like, today. I'm like, word. It just so happens that I had some time between my next client and, during that day on Monday. So he hit me up at 2:00. I show up at 3. I meet him. We do a walkthrough, which I have some BTS behind that, so stay tuned. I start shooting at 3:30. I'm done by 4. I walk out the place by 4:15. He's like, send me the invoice. I didn't even tell him how much it was. I just drew up that invoice, sent it to him. They was like, and it was approved in 3 days.
Nice.
4-figure invoice for 30 minutes worth of work.
Nice.
And that was just 30 minutes. So my hourly is actually double that, if you do the math. You understand what I'm saying? So it's and it was just having a genuine conversation with him, inquiring about what he needed. It wasn't about what I needed. I didn't even know that I needed that, right? But when you live a life of abundance, it don't matter if you get something or if you let go of something. Like, we're given the game right now because of all the things that we're getting. Like, we're at a level of abundance that it doesn't even matter.
I'm learning to lean into that, definitely. And then also, now I was going to rewind on that. One, I thought of the thing. It's the catchphrase I put to it. It's that, see, I'm going to mess it up again. Okay. That free will open doors for you that open hand never will. Because you're running around like this looking for money and stuff. So like people like, oh, you hit him with your sales pitch. Like, I'm good. I'm going to move on. But like, oh, you're going to do some free work real quick. And then it's like Master P said, first hits for free. You let somebody taste it and you're like, oh, that was solid. And then you can let's discuss it under these terms.
That's right.
But I mean, that's just one way to approach business. Yeah. I like how you said that story with the gentleman at the Marriott, that it organically happened. You just ran into him, right place, right time. Timing really is everything.
I couldn't believe that they didn't even have anybody. I mean, we're talking about the largest hotel chain in the world, and you're telling me that you didn't have anybody in the area? They're actually, check this out. They see so much value in me, Dylan, that they're trying to get me approved. See, you can't just walk into a hotel. No. They have branding requirements, specifications. Like, they need to, first of all, they need to know that you got it like that. So that way, when they give you specifications and details, that they can trust that you can abide by those. Like, all the way from the settings in your camera and the data, right? That you can view, like, this data point in your camera needs to be like with this number because it aligns with the Marriott. So that way, if anybody tries to pull the pictures and use them without our permission, they can see that this original work is Marriott work.
It's funny that you bring up those specifications. Yes, the reason I originally reached out to you is I had a huge opportunity presented to me.
Okay.
And when it first fell in my lap, I didn't believe it was true. I thought it was a scam. And I had to look the person up on LinkedIn, and I was like, oh, you can't fake those connections. I'm like, that's really the person that says their job title right there. And I was like, this is a huge opportunity. I can't blow this. Right. So they're like, well, if you're not available, though, or you commit to a date, do you have a team, or do you have somebody else that can fulfill this for us? I did not want to give them any reason to say no to me. One of the biggest opportunities I've ever had. So I went through and found every person that I could throw a rock at within stone's throw, right? That in this area, who does what we do. And I found Southside Don. I found Broadleaf. I found there's a handful of people in the area that do video production. I got on the phone talking to all y'all. You remember that phone call?
Yes, sir.
And I needed somebody that had a Premiere Pro workflow. I needed somebody that worked within my ecosystem. And then here's the thing, too. They're like, well, if you're going to do business with us, I get anxious. They send me, here's our specifications. I can fit all of these. Oh, man, my heart sunk. Because this was like a week or two until the opportunity, the shoot date. And I had to commit, and they wanted me to do time code. I didn't have a time code workflow. Are you familiar with time code?
Yeah.
That's in camera. That's with the sound device, and everything's on the same track. Your camera has the same time going in it as the sound code device, and it's just more tech, and it's another device to learn how to use. That was out of my wheelhouse, and I didn't know how to use it then.
Fair enough.
But my man I just mentioned, Justin Porter, is the man on time code, and I was like, I need to reach out to Justin and get a crash course on time code.
Yeah.
And I started doing my homework. I had my my shopping cart full of the time code gear, and then I had to talk to their team, and then they have their in-house video department, and I was in touch with him. This is the people, the organization that reached out to me. So I'm talking to everybody, all the key players there, and basically it was like, no. This is for our national campaigns when it's going on TV and when it's Big Willie. This is internal communications. I talked to their in-house video guy and told him what I do and how I operate. He's like, no, bro. He's like, you're exactly what we're looking for. You don't need to stress about the time code. And I was like, yeah, I was ready. I was going to buy the equipment, learn how to use it. In 2 weeks time, I was going to be show up time code ready.
Yeah.
If I had to pay Justin Porter to tell me how to do it, I was ready, baby.
Yeah.
But then ended up not having to. And then I didn't end up ever being double booked or need that extra help for their opportunities. Wow. And I'm building a relationship with them. I didn't realize it had been over a year. And I look back, I mean, I started prepping my taxes for this year. And I look back, I'm like, oh, I had invoices for them in 23. I'm like, I've been working with them for over a year now. And I was like, oh yeah, it has been a little while now. So I'm learning and growing. And you never know when those opportunities will get dropped in your lap, when you got to scramble to figure something out. Right. And I'm not trying to come up with excuses. I'm not trying to give anyone any reason to say no. I'm trying to make things happen.
That's right. That's right. And you ain't got to get ready if you stay ready, and you stayed ready. You know, even with the whole time code thing, like you knew how to figure it out. So that's the key right there. It's not about necessarily knowing at that time. It's can you figure it out, aka being a problem solver. So and you know, I actually got that concept from Ty Turner of Fly. I was gonna say
Fly Square Media,
Flash Film Academy. He's up on YouTube, and it was just like, think about what you're doing as a problem solver, because that's essentially what you are doing for somebody. They need this, they need to figure out how to get that, and when they come to you, they're in your space, in your DMs, in your email, calling you up because they believe that you know how to solve their problem, so to speak. Right. So that's really my approach to anything and everything. And that includes even having, people that you communicate with through your network.
There's so many parallels in business, industry to industry. You're giving people, you're solving a problem. You're providing a product or a service that will solve a problem. And the more business books I read and the more knowledge I try to get to better serve people and to grow as a business person, to grow as a person. Yes, I see that there's parallels. And industry to industry, again, it's very similar. And exactly what you said, it'll be like in a discovery call. You don't want to pitch them, be like, I'll give you this branding film for this price, or we can do these targeted marketing films. Right. Maybe that is the solution to their problem. You need to talk to them. Let them tell you what the problem is. And then like through the questions you ask them, they're going to come up with the answers that are, oh, look at that. Here's what could solve all of your problems right here. Yep. And that's like you got to let them discover that themselves through questioning instead of pitching them and coming across douchey and salesy.
That's it. That's and you know, I've been because I've been doing this since 2018. Okay, like professionally, like getting paid from that first edit video for that high school, right up there. Shout out to them. The next year later, I get a call to do the first televised commercial for Green Top Grocery. And I was like, television? They were like, yeah, like it needs to be sent to Peoria so it can go out to the hundreds of thousands of houses in the central Illinois area. And it's going to be on the news, or it's going to be after the 5 o'clock news or something like that for 5 days straight.
Nice.
And I was like, okay, I've never done that before in my life. One thing that I appreciate about all my clients, and I never really had to ask them, is that I have had full autonomy on almost every single project that I've ever done. They never asked me, oh, is this going to be on this? Are you like, what's your workflow? Stuff like that. Like, they were just, hey, this is what we need, you know? And so with that being said, I've been able to communicate with them about how I'm going to achieve this. And then all I have to wait and hear for them to say is, that sounds good. And as soon as they say, that sounds good, I'm out there this was in October. I'm out there like in the parking lot with my Mavic Pro, getting some drone shots of the store. I communicated with management staff to open up their doors so that way we can get real people in the store shopping. And I said, what can we do to get the staff in there so that way people can actually buy stuff from you guys? And they said, yeah, we can do that. I can have people come in. I'm like, I don't know if you need to like give them a little bonus or whatever it is for open up the store an hour early, but they opened at 7 so we can do the shoot. And I was like, I'm just going to film and have people do what they do. So the people who are working there, they were stocking the shelves. I got footage of them doing that. I had my Canon M50 at the time. And when you see the footage, it's yellow as shit. It is. I did not dial in my white balance because I really did not know how to do that. I probably had that camera for maybe 6 months at that point in time. And I had linked up with some of the other people in town, some of the other businesses that had sort of like a podcast set up. And I would have some of my clients at the time to do voiceover for the commercial, right? Sort of as like a testimonial, like, I love the taco bar and I like the local beans and, you know, stuff like that. And I would lay that over, and I would work with a marketing firm, shout out to, they prefer to be called the Murder of Crows, but shout out to Melanie Shalato, who is one of my personal training clients, who was on the board for Green Top to be created anyway. And you talk about the Rotary, she's in the Rotary. As a matter of fact, they just had a party at the Dobskis this past weekend, right? That a couple of my clients were also at. So it's all about that connection and the fact that they knew me as a coach, but they also knew me as Southside Don Productions. It was an easy ask for them. And it's the same thing with my client earlier that I talked about with the lacrosse team. He was my personal training client first, and then he found out that I was, you know, Southside Don Productions. And even at the time, I had a little restaurant meal prep service that I collaborated with chefs Zach and Alan at A to Z Catering and Parties, which is literally just up the road here, right, for 4.5 years. So he also bought food for my business. So my thing is, and this is something that Myron Golden said that I heard recently. He was like, you know, rich and wealthy people, it's not that they make more money. It's that they make the same money several times and faster. So I have had clients that I still work with till this day that have invested in my coaching business, that were patrons of my meal prep service at the time, that have been patrons of Southside Don Productions. These are the same people, and they just keep giving me their money. Why? Because of the value that I place before them. So it's not like, oh, I've given you enough money. It's like, no, you can never give me enough money, because as long as I have value that you need, imagine, like one of my mentors used to say, like, he's like, I'm trying to be like Walmart. Like I'm trying to be the one-stop shop, the guy that you can trust to get the job done, to get it quickly and effectively, so that you can go about your business and do what it is that you do.
All right. So you just mentioned you want to be like Walmart, be a one-stop shop for people, right?
Right.
I drew a picture of a stoplight and it has some play on the wording of one-stop shop. I wanted to be that for music artists. I wanted to be able to produce content for them. I knew producer buddies. I wanted to be able to give them like studio time, and I had an idea that I was a one-stop shop. Mm-hmm. But then in my journey took me to where I'm at now with it. For a while, like I grew up drawing. I didn't know I'd be producing video content at an early age. I would have thought I was going to build brand and decorate people's living rooms or do 2D images or something. Right. And then that kind of came down as the juice worth the squeeze. Like I wanted to be creative for a living. I want to monetize being creative because I'm passionate about creating. Mm-hmm. And then I don't want to say I sold out and got into video because I thought it could make more, but it made more sense to me to monetize video. And not just that I can monetize it, but literally I can make you an image, but what are you going to do with that? I see so much more value in video because it opens so many more doors and it provides so much more value in so many ways without me getting into it. But what you just said reminded me of something. I felt like I was spreading myself out too far. You can't be the ace of everything. And if you're the jack of all trades, you're only the jack. So then they say the general practitioner, you go to your doctor, cool, but he's making what, $1.20 versus that heart surgeon who's a specialist. A specialist who's a killer will always make more than that general practitioner. So I had to learn that, dial it in. They also say for video. I used to say any industry every day. I might say that, let that slip every now and again. That was just me trying to get money with my camera. Like you said, the camera's a tool. I don't care what industry you're in. Right. I can walk in, create this content for you. But the busier you get, the way to be more efficient is to build systems. And then you can have a system that's not like, okay, I'm doing my blue collar guy. I got to change gears over here for my doctor. I got to change gears over here for my restaurant. If you're the restaurant killer, bam, onboarding. Bam, here's this. Bam, here's that. Here's our workflow. One, you can be way more efficient because you can do it yourself, do it well. It's all you do. You know that. Two, you can build those systems to train somebody else to manage for you. Then you're the puppet master out here getting the work while somebody's managing those systems for you. So that's a way to level up. So I just say that to say, just keep an open mind to, it's great to be spread out. I got all these interests. I can monetize all these interests. You want to be the jack of all trades, or you want to be the ace. Just saying, just don't sell yourself short on it. And that's and I'm still learning to do that. I'm still spread out. I still work with a lot of industries. I still got buddies hitting me up for 2D design. It sucks when it's someone I've known 20 years. Hey, do this image for me. I don't want to drop 3 to 6 to 8 to 9 to 12 hours on this, and because the ROI ain't worth it. But then I'm not only money driven. I'm not only money motivated. You're my homie. If I can create this image for you, I will. But part of me is like, well, it depends on where I'm at with it. Earlier this year, I had 16 edits due out. I didn't have time for no 2D images. Later in the year, my schedule's a little bit more free. I can do things like this podcast. But right now, I'm not chasing 2D work. I don't want 2D work because I just can't justify the means to the ends, the ROI. The juice isn't worth the squeeze. And then when I say that though, when I get done doing video, I'm sick of doing video. I gotta, I have to exercise different parts of my brain, or I need different creative outlets. I draw. It was Friday the 13th in December, so I drew Jason Voorhees in a Santa Claus outfit, and I almost wasted an entire day doing that. I spent 6 to 8 hours doing a drawing, posted it, 3 people liked it. And I'm like, and I don't do it for likes. And I wasn't like, ooh, I'm going to post Jason to get money. Ooh, I'm going to post this and break the internet. But it is funny to me that this drawing that took me 20, 30 years to learn how to do, maybe not as dramatic, but you get it. I've learned my skill set with drawing, and then I'll put out this image that I'm proud of. And ain't no one feeling it, bro. Why don't 3 people like it? Is it because like, you're the video guy? What is this? It's outside of my brand or my character. Like, I don't know why likes are weird. Anyway, I'm going to get into that. But I just did that. And then and I look back at it and I was like, I don't care. It's not for them. It's for me. Exactly. And I was going to do annual Christmas drawing for Fly Square. I have one where it's 4 dogs that are from my family, my brother's dogs, my parents' dogs. And then in the back is in Santa's sleigh is a cat holding on for dear life. I did that a few years ago. My little boy was born 3 days before Christmas. And just being inspired by my kid, I did one where it's a camera set up in front of the fireplace or something. You see a camera and there's a rope, like it's a trap for Santa. And there's a little boy in a rocking chair passed out. He fell asleep waiting.
Oh.
And I was like, every year I'm gonna do this Christmas drawing. Well, the
Okay.
last few years I haven't done one.
Okay.
And then I had free time. I'm reaching the end of the year. I'm starting to focus on my taxes and explore some other projects. And I just dawned on me the other day. I was like, Friday the 13th, baby, and Christmas. I'm drawing Jason Voorhees with a Christmas hat on.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's no point to that.
Just out here killing Christmas. You know what I mean?
I love it. I love it.
No, and you know, I do appreciate that perspective. And I've heard that term many, many times, right? You know, jack of all trades, master of none, right? And for me, the game is much deeper than that. It's much deeper than what you do. It's about who you are. So I can understand, you know, and I've actually been told that before. I've had somebody that wanted to collaborate with me business-wise, and they do photography. They were coming to me for videography. Cool. The thing about this is that life is so much bigger than what it is that you do. It's about who you are. When I talked earlier about my purpose and, you know, my purpose in life, you know, to give people a chance to live the kind of life that they want to live. And the reason why it's so specific, yet it's so vague. And so when people talk about, you know, in general, you know, jack of all trades, master of none, what I hear is that people have yet to have mastered themselves.
Ooh. Put in a no.
You know,
don't put me in a box now.
No, for real. So like, in the shutdown, you know, during the Rona times, if you will, really opened my eyes to that, because there's so many people out here who are a master of one thing, and then the world shuts down. Does your one thing still matter when the world shuts down? How are you going to get yourself out of that? And so a lot of people have had to pivot. Listen, life is abundant. I'm free. I can literally do whatever I want, Dylan. So my thing is, if I'm going to be in a position in my life to do whatever I want, I might as well be good at it too. So good at it, in fact, that people who are willing to throw a few $1,000s at me on a whim to do a job and knock it out of the park over here, and do the same thing over here, something else that I do, and pay me to speak to a school of students for 8 hours. You remember those assemblies that we would have back in the day? And, you know, it would just be an excuse to get out of gym class or whatever. You know, you sit with your friends and all of that. So I had that happen to me. I drove up to Larkin High School. I was on the road at 4:30 in the morning, so I can get there at about 7, so that way I can start talking at 8. And I'm going to tell you right now, anybody who wants to get into public speaking, footwear matters. I could have had my shoes off, but I bought my Nike Retro ones, the 2021 All-Stars. Even with the insoles, definitely not the right shoe to wear. But I'm gonna tell you this, man. Like,
dogs were barking.
Man, I'm telling you, like the 10 minutes that I had in between classes when they would, you know, switch out. And because I am able to do all the things that I currently do, I was able to talk about those things and share with those students, some of which still follow me till this day. When I was, you know, with my meal prep service, somebody had reached out to me to talk to me about their dissertation, because I had previously co-lectured at ISU for a senior class. It was like on leadership and capstone stuff.
What did you study at ISU?
Sociology. Well, technically speaking, folks, university studies of sociology. So it wasn't even the real sociology, but it was really like a university study with an emphasis on sociology. And I realized that I liked that. And sociology came with it was sociology of death and dying, sociology of music, theology. And so I realized that I had all these things. And so the biggest lesson that I learned this year was that business is about people. So the more that you understand people, the better business that you can provide. It doesn't matter what it
It
is.
makes sense that you study sociology, and hearing you talk, you want to provide value. You want to help people, be a problem solver
right.
for them. So it's all within theme, and it makes sense.
right.
And then I wasn't trying to bust your
No,
chops.
no,
I was
no.
just trying to shine light on that, illuminate that. This is part of me
like that.
learning and being like, I'm spread out too thin, and that makes sense. Jack of all trades, a master of none. Yeah. How can you? I like the doctor, the practitioner, general practitioner versus the specialist analogy or metaphor, whatever. Like that makes sense to me. Yeah. But I love what you said about that whenever you're the master of one thing and that's all you know, and that one thing that you do and you triple down on it, what happens when something happens?
Yeah.
You got to pivot. What if you're the dancer? All you do is dance and you break your toe and you're out for the, you're
out.
Done. Then what are you going to do? Well, then I guess you could pivot into the teaching, but like, what if you're the dancer, but then you're also mentoring people? Then it makes that transition that much easier. And then like, why would you not want to give yourself the freedom to do other things if you're capable too? So I like that perspective. That's why the conversation's good. I like that perspective.
You know, and I understand there's some things going on right now, and I never really bought into the whole like politics things or whatever. But I will say that there is a lyric out there that says, I'm not the businessman, I am the businessman. I am the business. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why I can literally, listen, you drop me off in a foreign location with a bottle of, and, you know, shout out to my Uncle Fifth. You know, he said this and I totally resonated. You know, you drop me off in the middle of a location with a bottle of water and I'm good. You ain't got to worry about me. You know what I'm saying? Because I understand myself. So understandably, you know, when people see people doing a lot of different things, they're like, whoa, like have a focus, slow down. It's like, my focus is me. I'm good. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, and that's, and it's a beautiful thing to have this conversation because I understand that a lot of people gravitate towards the idea of being a master of one thing. I will say this, you can absolutely, and you should be a master of one thing. I'm just saying the master of one thing should be yourself and not what it is that you do.
No, I like that. And I'm working on that master yourself in that one big one. And that's like, you reveal things through conversation, even if it's unintentional, just by the way you frame things or whatever structure you use to support your thesis sentence type deal. But not that like I was a lunatic running around losing my mind, but I used to tend to lose my temper more. One, I had a slow computer. Something as simple as I would double click a folder and there'd be a 2 to 3 second delay before it would open. And when I'm stressed and I'm doing something, I'm in a hurry, I double click it. Yeah. Are you going to open? And like I would lose my temper because a folder wouldn't open.
Right.
And I'm like, that's not mastery of self. When I'm happy, when I'm in a good mood, and this is corny, I don't have the knowledge of the data to say like, oh, your inner child, but like when I remember who I was as a kid and who I wanted to be, I'm like, I'm living that life. I'm having so much fun doing what I'm doing. And when I'm like, I'm tapped in and I'm, I guess, centered. Yeah. I'm happy. And like something as simple as opening a folder, there's no frustration there. Okay. And then sometimes I like to be like, well, what's the lesson to be learned here? But that mastery of self's huge. And I have a son. And I try to tell him that. And I'm like he's you know, like, oh, he's a good kid. He's a good kid. And I set a bad example in a lot of ways because he's a single child and I got a mouth on me. I let him get away with stuff. But I think I'm doing so many things right. I'm setting such a good example in so many ways, and being a role model in ways that I never had. And then I'm gonna keep him away from. I don't want to keep him away from life because life's gonna hit him. Right? If you're not prepared for it, when it comes at you, you're gonna fold. I had that conversation with someone recently. But at the same time, why throw him to the wolves now when he doesn't need to be? I'm going to protect him at least a little bit now. And then as he needs that character development, I'm going to let him have it. I feel like I'm giving him the tools he needs to be successful where he's at now. But then like, I don't know. That's another whole deep body of thought.
I mean, I'm going to tell you this right now. The reason why I'm at where I'm at is because I had guidance as opposed to saying restrictions. Right? So it was like, hey, whatever sport you wanted to play, it was like, understand you can only do one sport because, you know, my dad would take me and like, you know, working as a steel worker for 25 years, like, you know, his time was limited and he would work second and third shifts coming home at 5:30 in the morning. So it was like, okay, so I was put in a position to be free, but I also had choices. I had to make decisions. So early on, I learned the value and the importance, or the life lessons rather, of making decisions. So I had to think about what was important to me, what I was passionate about. And in those days, it was baseball. And so I excelled at baseball, won 2 league championships in a row as a starting pitcher, made all-star as a pitcher the first year. I'm in the paper and stuff like that, striking out kids until I got to high school. And then I did sports in high school and all these. I just did whatever it is that I wanted. So my dad, as a father yourself, as a dad yourself, it wasn't so much about restrictions and, like you said, protecting them too much. It was really like, hey, what it is that inspires you, what it is that you love to do, what it is that speaks to you. Trains. Okay, cool. So let's go. And you know what I'm saying? There's a wooden train, by the way, over by A to Z, that like it's free to the public, and every year they're going to add a section onto that train.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And one of my clients' dads, he has a wood shop that him and his buddies made that. He made that for the city.
Man, I want to circle back around to that because I want to tell my story with
Yeah,
Alan,
let's go.
kind of. But So
yeah.
something you just said though about guidance. That was I know at some point on this platform I'm going to do a deep dive maybe and talk about my childhood, some of my influences. We had too much free time. What you just said hit home. My dad always worked second and third shift.
Mm-hmm.
I jokingly wonder now, I'm like, was it by design? Did he do it intentionally? Because he's like, then I get to sleep through, and I only got to be around the family when I want to be around the
It's
family.
old school. It's old school. That's how it used to be.
But we had little guidance, and maybe not so much little guidance. Like we got. They would try to discipline us, but like I still say we lacked role models, and we had too much spare time. Apparently, with your spare time, you made good decisions. With our free time and our lack of guidance, we made bad decisions, and we got in a lot of trouble and did a lot of foolish things. And I reflect on it, and that part of it is me. I got to own it and be accountable that I made those decisions because I thought that was fun or it was cool or whatever. Maybe I was giving into peer pressure. I don't know what. But part of me, I don't want to, but I'm not placing the blame on my parents. But part of me does say, though, I lacked a certain level of guidance or direction, and like it just wasn't there. And then so when I was left to my own devices, I would make a lot of bad decisions. And me and my brother made our lives a lot harder than we needed to. And we learned so many lessons the hard way that with just a little bit more guidance or a little bit more structure, I think we probably wouldn't have made those decisions. And it's like my brother's kids are grown now, and he keeps his thumb on them, but they're both good kids and they got direction.
Yeah.
And my kid's much younger than his children are, but like I hope I'm doing the right thing for him. You know what I mean? And like that's all we can do. And I give my pops credit in that his dad wasn't in the picture. So he provided for us. Exactly. He was there and he provided. Yep. So damn him if he didn't set the best example or give us the most direction. He was doing the best of what he knew how to do. At least he was in the picture versus his story. His dad wasn't even around. So you know what I mean? So like everyone learns off the generation before them. If anything, be grateful for that because now I can take the tools that I learned from him and do better with my kid. That's right. That's all we can do.
And gratitude is the only way to live. Like there is no high, low, anything and everything that happens to me, or excuse me, anything and everything that happens for me in my life is to my benefit. And that's, shout out to Uncle Acario on that. I have a lot of mentors, and, my dad was one of 10. His dad died when he was younger. So it was just my grandmother and all these kids. And he was third born and he was driven. He, like I said, he went to high school and then he didn't go to college. Well, he went to vocational school to learn how to, basically be a mechanic. So he would work on cars. And so that knowledge of him working on cars, he and I would work on cars together. We didn't talk about girls. We didn't talk about women or anything like that. Like I was just, because I had the freedom to do what it is that I wanted to do, I was never afraid to speak to people. I was never afraid to be myself because I had no restrictions or anything like that. But what I did have was structure. So structure was my guidance growing up. I grew up in 2 broken homes. Like I said, being, growing up in the projects, Southside of Chicago, in the gardens. I've seen violence. I've seen my best friend was the son of a cook. And you know what I'm talking about when I say cook.
Now I do. I got you.
You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So, especially in that neighborhood and, Miss Vanetta, obviously she's since then passed on. I'm like, hey, where's my friend, Gerard, and she was like, basically, she was kind of cold about it. It is what it is. But she's like, Gerard's not here anymore. And what had happened was that she was using her own son to, basically test the product that she would cook on him. And so he OD'd and he was done. I was like maybe under 10 years old at the time. So that was life. early on. And then eventually, moved out of there. And I didn't live in that. That's just where grandma was. And I had working parents. So I would stay at grandma's house. She would take me to school and, these sorts of things. Like I remember busting my upper lip because I was riding my bike and the basketball court had a lot of glass on it, per usual. And the front tire busted and I went up flying over the handles and I probably had to like slide on my face for like 5 feet. And my parents were just about ready to go to work and I'm riding my bike and that happened. And like we went to the hospital. I had to get my upper lip stitched up and everything like that. But it's because of those, experiences that I grew up around a village. Like I said, my dad had, 9 siblings. He's one of 10. So I grew up in a village. And in terms of guidance, I didn't necessarily, like his guidance to me was 3 rules. Don't do drugs, don't go to jail, and don't get a girl pregnant. And I was like, word, that's it? He was like, that's it. And believe it or not, dog, and to accompany that with sports, because I really wanted to be the best at whatever it is that I did. So I had the structure of sports, so I didn't have time to get in trouble. You understand what I'm saying? And I was doing whatever it is that I wanted to do. And to make sure that I could do whatever it is that I wanted to do, I had to abide by those 3 rules. I had to make sure that my homework was done. I had to make sure that, I got home at a certain time. Like I had things going on. I stayed busy. You understand what I'm saying? And, like I said, growing up in a split up household and stuff like that, it was also a distraction. So staying busy, staying mission focused. I always had a mission. And even in college, like I forewent, doing track and field because I had talked to Coach Ford at the time for ISU track and field. And it was during summer track. And he and I had a conversation. And that's one of the reasons why I went to ISU. And then I realized, wait a minute, you can't have a job when you're an athlete. Like I know I'm not going to the Olympics doing track. So I
What was there just track. Not time for it, or why could you not have a job? Was it
it just didn't make any sense.
Oh, okay.
It was like, okay, how am I gonna spend all my time being in a sport and then having study afterwards because that was required, but it's like I wasn't making no money, and I'm like, well, I gotta fend for myself. I'm not trying to move back home like the 88% of college students or whatever that is, like after they graduate. I'm trying, like when I left, like by any means necessary. I was going to live on my own and be my own man.
I know everyone's got to follow their own journey. The economy's gotten tough, and like I ain't knocking anyone's living situation, but some people are riding anyway. Mm-hmm. Some people look for the easy way out, but everyone they'll figure it out on their own. But I did that. I was 19 and I left and joined the Army, and I never looked back. I've fended for myself ever since. Mm-hmm. And it's just then when you see other people who are struggling to get things together and they're leaning on other folks, it's like, well, damn, like I figured it out. But then that's so bogus to say, and that's not what I'm trying to do, or pass any buck.
It's real.
But and then that's everyone has their own struggles, man. Right. Like it's hard out here, so like you're an asshole if you're knocking somebody for while they're still trying to figure it out. But no, I did. When I was 19, I left the house, and then I've fended for myself ever since. And there's been ups and downs, and we're still making it work. But you said something a minute ago. One, I want to jump in this Alan Chambers story, and we're going to run out of time.
Let's do it.
And I'm not even getting there yet. Hopefully we don't run out of time. You said something, though. You mentioned gratitude. And this is one of these things that I want to talk about openly, and I want to share my perspective on it.
Okay.
I've always heard the attitude of gratitude. I used to have a message. Again, I'm always like, here's what I think now. Back in the day, it was like this. I used to have the wrong perception of gratitude. I felt like if you're grateful for what you have, you're settling. Well, I'm good. I'm grateful. I'm good. And that it would take away from your ambition. And now I'm like, that's the most ass backwards way to look at it. Gratitude has nothing to do with ambition.
That's right.
If anything, gratitude opens the door for whatever you're ambitious about. It will let you get that. And then I don't know the science to it. I need to do some studying and have some notes to spit this educatedly. But in your brain, we're talking about the brain, the whole brain child, right? Your brain's just a bunch of chemicals. There's only so many chemicals that fire, whether you're anxious or nervous or whether you're excited, looking forward to something. It's a very simple. You got some serotonin, some dopamine. You only got so many chemicals in your brain that are flowing, right? When you are experiencing gratitude, certain chemicals flow in your brain. And they are the opposite of whenever you're angry or when you're feeling jealousy or there's other negative chemicals. And that when you're experiencing gratitude, it's you can't have one without the other. It's like and I'm gonna mess up the science of it, but it's literally a different chemical flows in your brain when you're experiencing gratitude. And I got my own unique spiritual beliefs. But every time I eat, I sit and give gratitude for having food.
Ooh.
I thank the universe for the exchange of energy that's about to take place.
Yes, sir.
Due to this energy going into me, I'm going to continue to live another day and get to do this life.
And that made it good too.
That one too, and then I get to enjoy the flavor of it.
Yes,
But two,
sir.
I'm grateful for the production of the food. I know the sun had to grow it. I know people had to pick it. Somebody had to prepare it. All that. I give a real quick little shout out of gratitude that I get to eat, and I feel like that's kind of corny. And I don't even do it to be like, look at me, I'm high and mighty because I'm so grateful for this food. That's part of how I frame it because I was deployed 3 times in the military.
Ooh.
I've seen hungry people.
That's right.
I'm not hungry. 1. 2, back to that chemical flow in your brain. I'm trying to remind myself to be grateful for this experience.
Yes.
And just there's so many levels to it. And just gratitude, it levels me and it reminds me, don't get mad when you're clicking that folder to open it. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
And so gratitude does not correlate or have anything to do with ambition. And just I used to look at that so wrong, and I had such a childish perspective of I'm not grateful for what I have because then I won't want more.
Right.
No, that's the wrong way of looking at it. And that's why I told my kid, like, be grateful for every minute.
Yeah.
And part of it too is when you get older, you start losing people. The longer you last, you start running out of time, but you're more appreciative for what you do have. And then the cool part too is through different seasons of my life, I still got childhood friends from school. I got buddies from the Army. I got buddies from when I was in college, buddies from when I was in TV news, buddies from now through this media thing that I'm doing. At different stages and seasons of my life, I got different friends. And I love seeing them thrive. And I know some of the hardships they've been through. It's like, man, I've known you 30 years. Look what we've overcome. Like my childhood friend had anything I think my life was hard about, his life was way harder.
That's right.
And he's killing it right now.
That's right.
And I love seeing him get money.
That's right.
Like anytime I get self-conscious about what I'm going to say here,
Yeah.
I'm like, the people that know me and rock with me,
Yeah.
know me and rock with me. I think that's part of the human condition though, because look at when you meet somebody, you get an impression of them. Then the rest of the time you know them, it either supports or challenges your impression of them.
Yeah.
And over time, you've built up so much support of that. Even if they do something you don't like, you're like, yeah, well, they get a pass.
Yeah.
They've been in this space for so long. But like, I feel like that's the human condition. When you get to know people, you get a baseline for them, and then they either support it or challenge it. And over time, characters developed. And in your mind, they occupy that space. It's an interesting game we play.
Oh yeah. I mean, so for me, my thing is, and again, I learned this from, one of my mentors, Uncle Loke. He, and this is
Uncle Luke.
Loke.
I'm messing with you.
Like, man, it's like, I debate my equals to all others I teach. And because of who I am and what it is that I do, I'm in a position to where like anytime and every time that I'm speaking to somebody, we're either conversing or I'm teaching. And I'm always learning too. That's the thing. Like that's the identity of a master, is that they are constant learners of themselves to the point where they are masters of themselves. You understand? But I'm like, if you cuss, then cuss. Just know that you have a decorum, you have a certain level of professionalism about yourself, and when it's time to do work, it's time to do work. But understand this is me and this is who I am. And if you don't rock with that, then then however you want to handle that's cool. But they need to know who you are and trust that you are the professional that you purport yourself to be. You can do both.
And I thought of something too.
Both sides of the brain, brother.
And I thought of something too. I had a guy, they did it was while I was in school, it was a panel discussion. And I forget what the question was, but the gentleman made a point. He flipped the crowd off, and I forget what it was exactly, how he framed it, and that's why I'm going to butcher this now. But basically he was like, where you are matters. If you're here in a lunchroom and you say one thing, it matters in one way, versus if you're on stand and you just took an oath and you're taking it to a judge and it's on record, it means another thing.
Yes.
Versus I'm here on my own platform doing me, exactly. It's another thing. But then I got to be mindful that I'm going to share this with a public audience. Yeah. So there's just so many levels to it, and I was so insecure about doing this. Yeah. But at the end of the day, the upside outweighs the other side, and I wanted to do this. There's so many reasons, and part of it's for legacy. If I could listen to my dad having a conversation with his buddies from 30 years ago, that'd be cool. Sitting down, talking about business, sitting down, shooting the shit,
That's
talking
powerful.
about current events. That would be neat to
Yes.
look back on, see what my dad thought, what he was doing. Or
Yes.
then at several different seasons of his life, and not even just for him, but for myself.
Yes.
If 10 years ago, I could hear where I was at, what I was doing. Like I used to jump on camera sometimes, but it was in a completely different capacity. And then imagine I did it even 10 years prior, 10 years prior. So like when I'm a teenager, then when I'm in my 20s, when I'm in my 30s, like you grow so much every year, much less every decade. If you could have that benchmark in time and just have that, just that's neat. And not only for your own personal self, for your kids, for your nephews, for your family, for your legacy. That's part of why, if no one else ever sees this, and if it stays
right.
super small, for me and my own, this is neat to me.
That's
and
right.
I want to have this. I'm mad I didn't do it sooner. That's why I want to share this with people, so you have that. And then I want to tell other people, y'all can have this too.
That's a fact.
Like for real.
That's a fact. Now, I'm curious about this Allen story, my brother.
I keep touching on it, right?
know,
All right.
I know.
Man, I don't want to get too long-winded with it, but basically, do you remember when Snoop Dogg came through the corn crib a few years ago?
Yep.
So my lady's little brother does photography. When they were coming to the corn crib, I don't know exactly how the details of it worked out, but
I don't think people know like this story. They know that Snoop Dogg, but like to know this information that you're about to drop right now.
Here we go.
Oh man, let's go.
This is neat to me in that, so I get it. Like I'm close enough to the music industry. I follow that. I used to do music videos, and I know some successful artists. I see again parallels in industries. When I see this artist get on, I could sit down and put value to any artist. Here's how you get on. But I'm not in that space. I'm not trying to do that. But anyway, the promotion team would go to the city before the act came. And you know, like when you go see a show, there was Snoop Dogg featuring Naughty by Nature. Well, then there's local opening acts.
Right.
They don't just sign any bum up. What they did was the promo team came to town early and they hosted a talent show. They wanted to pick the best of the best in the area, so they literally hosted a talent show to determine who gets to open for Snoop. And it just so happened my lady's little brother was doing photography, had a relationship with an artist. The artist is like, ooh, come out and take pictures of me. I'm doing this talent show.
Okay.
So when my man was there doing the talent show photos, he met the promotion team.
Of course.
All the promotion team sees is, oh, local media guys, hey, you want to come shoot the Snoop show? He came to me on a Thursday and said, Dylan, you want to go shoot Snoop Dogg? I said, bro, prior to this, I was operating as Dylan Elliott Art. I hadn't landed on a name. I knew I wanted to change my name, and I was teetering on Fly Square Media, and I was like, well, I can't keep trying to decide what it is. I'm not going to go shoot Snoop Dogg under Dylan Elliott Art. So on Thursday night when Buddy came over, I decided on Fly Square Media. The next day, I hit my buddy John Carmine out. Shout out, John. I was like, John, I knew he was doing some wood cutting stuff, and he had I think I knew he could make me a shirt. And I was like, bro, can you make me a shirt? So I came up with the little glasses logo that was thrown together. I didn't plan on using it all this time, but it kind of represents me, a cartoony guy. I hated wearing glasses for the longest, but now I've embraced it. But Fly Square Media was invented because I got an opportunity to shoot Snoop Dogg. Within 48 hours, it was not only a brand, but I had T-shirts for the crew. Me, him, and his lady went and shot it. I got to shoot Snoop, but there's more.
Oh, yes.
So the guy he was rocking with, that he took photos of, did not win the contest. He did not get to open for them. The other guys did. You know A Solo? You know A Solo? Shout out A Solo. He's a local guy. I think he hangs out in Peoria. He does really solid. He's in the music video space. I think he's full time with it. He's the music video guy. And so A Solo was there with the winners of that contest. And then it wasn't standoffish like, oh, you're over there, we're over here. But we kind of didn't rock with each other. It was like, oh, I don't know, people click up. You're doing your thing with the winners. We wasn't the winners, but we're over here and we're still allowed to shoot. But it was cool. I had no shade, ain't no love lost, none. A Solo and them got to go hang out with Snoop. They got pictures with him behind the scenes with Snoop. And I'm like, man, we was this close to getting to be in that position, but we're in this position. Let's embrace it. So we got to run around backstage. It was at the Corn Crib. It's a baseball stadium. So they got it halved off. The stage is right in the middle. This half's where the crowd goes. This half is behind the scene. What do you call it? Backstage. And there's literally wood. They put wooden pallets, not pallets, but big sheets of wood, so they could drive the truck on the field without messing it up.
Yeah, for sure.
And then that led back to where the talent was, where Snoop and them were. Snoop and Naughty by Nature were, right? And then so they told us we got to stay backstage. And then we never got any real clear guidance on where we could go or where we couldn't. But they said when Snoop was on stage, they said you can be in the pit right underneath it for 4 songs, and we're going to pull you. I'll get back to that in a minute. So I'll get back to that in a second. So then it was like, you can be backstage or whatever. And I'm like, bro, I grew up on hip hop. I know Naughty by Nature. I know their hits. I had the Man, everybody knows Hip Hop Hooray. What was the other one? Jamboree. I remember when Jamboree came out. Like I was a Naughty by Nature fan.
Okay.
I remember Tretch being in movies. There's the one where he's in some.
He was Blade, dog.
Was Tretch Blade? No, that's Wesley Snipes.
No. There was a show.
I'm gonna look that up. I didn't know that one. See, I'm not that big of a Tretch fan, but no, I know Tretch. I'm a Tretch fan. He used to rock the freaking chain. He was buddies with Tupac. I remember one where him and Omar Epps are in some sort of prison, and he punches the guard. He says, "I hit hard, don't I?" Tretch smacked the CO, and I'm like, I know Tretch. I'm walking around backstage. I look over from me to you. Tretch is right there, and I freeze up. I get that like whatever they call it, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to go say what's up to him. I was like, no, I don't want to be like, oh, your family, what's up, Tretch? And I was like, part of me too, I was like, I got to play it cool, because then what if the promoter's like, why are you over here bugging the talent? Like, I got to be professional. I can't be off in the talent's face, like, unless I got a reason to. Looking back at it, I played myself. There wasn't nothing stopping me from going over and be like, bro, I've been a fan for 20 years and shaking Tretch's hand. Hey, you care if I get a picture? I ain't had to ask for the picture. I could just shook his hand. I didn't even walk up to him because I was intimidated. Whatever. I built up these imaginary walls in my mind. I played myself. I could have met Tretch, and I didn't. And I'm mad at myself to this day for it. But I'll try to wrap this up here. So it's like we're behind the scene. We're backstage. Tretch and them are running around. I'm like, this is so cool. And then it's like, all right, the show's about to start. So we all get on stage. It's all like the crowd's big. You got the floor, which is it's in a baseball stadium. So the floor is like this huge crowd right in front of the stage, and it's sectioned off. And then you got all the stadiums, whatever the fans who got tickets up here. And so I'm on the side of the stage, waiting for Tretch and them to come out. They got these big blow up, what do you call them? Like air blow up things, like the Christmas floats. And they got a dude with a money machine spitting bills out, and there's the smoke and everything. And I'm like, this is the most incredible moment. I look over at my lazy little brother. I'm like, thank you. Like, this is so cool. Look what we're about. He's not even a hip hop fan.
Yeah.
He didn't even know who Naughty was. I'm like, bro, this is so cool. And I'm like, Tretch and them's getting ready to come out. And I'm so geeked. I look at the crowd. There's hundreds and hundreds of people. And I glance over, and it's Venrock. I think that's his name. As much as a Naughty by Nature fan as I am, I know Tretch. I don't know the other ones. I think it's Venrock. It's the guy who's got the big smiley face. Yeah. I know, like, he's right next to me at the mic. I'm like, I could have put my arm around him. He's right there. I'm like his buddy. I'm like, this is so freaking cool, bro. And then he walks past me and goes out and warms up the crowd. He's like, do out to bam. He's saying everything. He's like, let's get him out here. Here comes Tretch. The crowd goes ape shit. And I'm at a Naughty by Nature concert side stage. I'm like, they never told us we couldn't. I slowly work my way over.
Yes, sir.
I'm back here. I try not to get between the talent and the crowd, but I'm on stage with Tretch and them, and I'm getting it. And I'm like, this is so cool. You know what he did when he walked over? He set a bottle of Hennessy and like 3 beers right next to the DJ stand. Them's refreshments for the show, right? I'm like, Tretch is out here getting lit every night. Bro, I was right there on stage with Tretch, and at some point, he talks about, he's like, I got a tattoo of Tupac, and I'm like right next to him, like, this is so cool. And he bends down, does a prayer. I'm in video mode. I'm like, set my camera to photo. I get this really cool of Tretch right there. It's a full picture of him. The light hit him just right. I got a badass picture of Tretch. You scroll down to my IG, it's on there. And then here's the top of the story, and then I'm gonna try to wrap this up, man. We're gonna have to get out of here eventually. So anyone that's not a fan of them, they had OPP, which is a big hit, and they had Hip Hop Hooray. Right. So they go into Hip Hop Hooray. He's like, I want everybody in this motherfucker to put their hands in the air. I took that as a personal invitation. I set my gimbal down. He's like, Hip Hop Hooray. I'm on stage for Hip Hop Hooray with Tretch, right? This is such a cool moment. I look over, and who do I see? Alan Chambers, A to Z was catering it. Alan's on stage with me. We saw them. We went backstage. We got to eat. I knew he was gonna be a vendor. I saw his name or whatever, and then we're there. I'm getting to eat the barbecue, and he had all these sauces. Sauces are fantastic.
Got about 11 of them.
Shout out A to Z. And I was like, dude, this is incredible. The barbecue was fire. And then so we're on stage doing Hip Hop Hooray. I'm like, this is so cool. I don't even know where Eric is at this point. My buddy, my lady's little brother. But I look over and I'm like, it's the caterer, dude. It's Alan. He's doing it too. And I'm like, we're sharing the coolest moment right now. And so and then several years later, I'm talking recently. So this show happened a long time ago. And like a year ago, I was at Pennzoil getting my oil changed, and he walked in. I know who he is. He must not have known who I was. I said, you're Alan Chambers. He looked at me like, who the?
Right.
And I was like,
you got it.
I said, I was on stage with you in Naughty by Nature. And he was like, it was just like, bro, what a moment. Shout out Eric Poston Photography.
Yes, indeed.
It was an incredible experience. Wow. And then after that, though, they're like, for Snoop, you can't be on stage. You can get down in the pit for 4 songs. And they said, we're gonna hit you with a flashlight, and that's gonna be your cue to come out. I'm on that side of the stage, and in the corner of my lane. And here's the thing: they don't do songs start to finish. They do like mixes,
Right,
and it's
yeah,
like one
absolutely.
song laces into another. I'm like,
Yep.
so who's to say when that fourth
Yeah.
song's gonna come
Yeah,
out?
keep that high. Yeah.
And they double clicked the light, and I was like, like it went so fast. Like, dude, Snoop's right there. I could have reached up and touched his little Snoopy foot. No, I could have reached up and touched Snoop. He came out, and I remember his dreads were super long.
Right.
He might have been in his Snoop Lion days, and it was like right around then. His dreads looked this thick. They were this long, and I was like, "Is that shit heavy, bro? Like, does that give you a neck ache?" I was like, "Damn, Snoop, he's so tall and lanky." I'm like, "Bro, it's Snoop Dogg right there." Here's the crazy part too. When I knew they were coming to town, I'm like, "Well, that's neat," but I was like, "I'm not gonna. Oh, I want to go see the Snoop Dogg show." For whatever reason, I didn't even have any interest in going until I could shoot it. When I was sitting there, they played all the '90s hits, bro. It was the concert of my childhood.
Yeah.
And I had a front row seat to it. I got 4 songs with Snoop right there, and then we could walk around the side of the stage and stuff. We were still backstage during the Snoop, and I was like looking at it. He's got monitors in the front, and then I was like security will let us in and out of the gate. So I walk around, I get behind the crowd, so I got crowd, Snoop stage.
Exactly.
I get back in. And it was just the most incredible. I've done a lot of cool stuff. I worked with some really nice companies, really nice people. But shooting Snoop Dogg is the highlight of my career so far. He's not just a national superstar; he's international. He's Snoop, baby. It was so cool. I shot Snoop Dogg. So sorry. So that was when you said Alan Chambers. Every time you mentioned him 3 or 4 times in our conversation, I remember that really neat experience with him on stage with Naughty by Nature, bro. It was incredible.
I'm a double down.
It was incredible.
I'm a double down.
You rock with him like that? I don't know Alan very well. I'm friends with him on social, but I don't know him.
So A to Z Catering and Parties were my chefs for my meal prep service.
So you know him.
Dog, I was in the kitchen with him, cuz.
Holler at Alan, be like, bro,
hey,
Buddy
listen,
was shooting that concert.
Listen, so, dog, they got called in to do the 90s concert.
Nice.
That was in town this time last year.
I remember that.
I said, hey, how about I help y'all? Doing the cater thing. They're like, we're just going to take food up to the area where they're going to be. I'm like, yeah, I'll roll with y'all. I drive separately in my car. They take their A to Z van to all the food. Hey, we're missing a bottle of barbecue sauce. I'm like, I got you. I drive back to the restaurant, pick up the barbecue sauce. Chef Zach is out there like waiting for me to come through, grab it from him, boom, head back to the Coliseum. We go upstairs. Shout out to Miss Kelly, Zach's wife. She was helping setting everything up. So I see the whole production being put together on the floor. So we're talking like 80 something people dressed in black, putting everything together, right? I decided earlier that I was gonna go to this concert. So the people that I was rolling with, they bought tickets. I'm like, screw it. I'll do tickets too. That's what gave me the idea to help out with the catering. I saw the sheet of food that everybody was getting. I saw the food that Sugar Hill Gang was getting. I saw the food that Tone Loc, like him and his crew. Everybody that was up there. And then of course I saw Vanilla Ice's food that he was getting too. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna meet Vanilla Ice. I was like, I don't even know how. I'm gonna just meet Vanilla Ice. So my outfit, 90s outfit, I had on my Carhartt coveralls. I had on like a backwards hat, and I had a dog chain, which I took my home like Target like clock, right? And then I taped it together to the dog chain. Yeah.
Was Public Enemy there? Or you just plan on doing your 90s thing?
Yeah, it was on the tour. It's a little different. Color Me Bad, Tone Loc, Sugar Hill Gang, Vanilla Ice. I don't want to say it was a fifth one, but I bought the tickets. We have the floor seats. Okay, cool. And then my people text me. They're like, "Hey, come up front. We're up front." I was like, "Oh, word! I thought you had to have tickets for that. You had to have a wristband to be on the floor." So I go up. I show them the wristband. They're like, "Cool." They let me through. I was like, "Oh, word! Okay, cool." So we're on the floor in the pit, if you will, like right in front of the stage, dancing, vibing. One of the security guys comes through. "Hey, we need some people to go up on stage for Tone Loc." And I'm like, word to Big Bird. I'm already there, cuz.
I'm people.
You know what I'm saying? I'm in line. He's like, and then he ends up calling, like, I want all the ladies to come up here. He's like women, you know, all the, you know, females just up on the stage. I'm like, oh, word, that's all good. So he's done with the show. I go to the bathroom and I see the same security guard. I'm like, hey man, what happened? I thought you was gonna get me on stage. He was like, oh man, sorry about that. I was like, I identify as female. Why didn't you have me up there? He was like, I was like, no, I'm just kidding, man. I'm not like that. It's all good. He was like, oh, okay. I mean, it's all good. Well, I mean, we still have Vanilla Ice. He's last. Would you want to go up? I'm like, man, I guess so. I'll go up on stage,
it's just
right?
Ice.
You know,
right.
So we finally get to the part in his performance where he has a whole bunch of people on stage. So I'm like, so now I'm on stage with Vanilla Ice and Michelangelo. I think he's the older one, right? The Ninja Turtle. So he did ninja rap and brought out Michelangelo.
Oh, no doubt.
Right. So I'm in the corner and I'm like doing all the 80s and 90s dance moves that you could possibly think of. I'm doing the Charleston. I'm doing like the MC Hammer. I'm sweating, right? And then Vanilla Ice gets to the DJ booth. The DJ booth is like over there, like off into the, like in terms of distance, like in this room, the DJ booth is like right there. So I walk up and me and my lady Natalie, you know, shout out to her, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, here, take my phone. So I give her my phone and I have her recording me standing in front of the DJ booth. Vanilla Ice just gets done playing Independent by Boosie, right? And I waited as soon as the song was over and nobody was talking. I said, Vanilla, you cold for that. So I reach out my hand and he sees me and he daps me up like that.
No,
I was like,
cool.
I just met Vanilla Ice. You know what I'm saying?
You had your moment.
And after that, because he was the last person to perform, everybody came out. Sugar Hill Gang was on the same stage. Tone Loc was on the same stage.
That's so cool.
Tone Loc came over to me. He was telling me how good my dance moves was. I was dapping him up. I got a picture of him like leaning in my ear, telling me like what's like where they were gonna go afterwards. I couldn't hear shit because I was in front of the stereo. I'm like, I don't know what you said, Tone Loc, but that sounds dope. So after that, like, you know, the show was over and people were like, what, like you? I was like, listen, y'all, I said I was gonna meet Vanilla Ice.
That's
and I
amazing.
did, you know.
That's amazing. Did Tone Loc do Wild Thing?
Of course
he
Absolutely.
did. I remember that when it was on Yo MTV Raps back in the day. That was early when I started to get into hip hop.
Yeah,
that's funny too, right? Talking about early hip hop and Tone Loc. Eazy-E was what got me as a fan because I had a buddy that was older than me. Like, I had an older brother. I knew some older kids, so they was cool, right? And one of them had a brother who always wore Guess jeans. We were poor. We didn't get no Guess jeans. I'm like, oh, back then Guess jeans were what's happening. That's like your fancy designer joints. And buddy had Guess jeans. And so to me, Guess jeans were super cool because my buddy's older brother. Because these kids were even older than my brother's older than me, and they were older than him. So they were older. So they're super cool kids, right? They practically grown.
That's right.
And Eazy-E said, sock the pig in the head for ripping my guess. And I was like, oh, he hit the police for ripping his guess. That's twice I'm talking about assaulting. And anyway, but no, like to me, that was the coolest line in hip hop. And I was like, yo, that's dope. And then, so like from then on, like I got into hip hop heavy and like, I don't know, like that was some early influence into it. I remember that specifically because of that line, right? Yeah. And then my kid's into some hip hop now. He gravitated to Eminem, which is funny to me. I wasn't like, yeah, little buddy, listen to Eminem. Funny. But he likes Eminem for whatever reason. Okay. And I'm trying to, he'll be in the car and he wants to play the same 6 songs over and over. Me and his mom go crazy. Like, bro, you got to listen to some more music. I've turned him on to DMX. I've turned him on to a bunch of stuff. Right. And he's starting to broaden his little musical horizons. But they're like, oh, I got one you got to hear. I said, this song turned me on to hip hop. He was like, you play Boys in the Hood for your 9-year-old? Yes, I did.
Oh,
and
you got to.
And I'm not a big fan of like old school hip hop, like hip hop. Like I know those are those
like Sugar Hill Gang?
They paved I know they paved the way, but like that cadence and that whatever is after
That's
I
what
got
it
into
was.
hip hop, and I look back on that, and to me, that's old corny hip hop.
Yeah,
And not that it's
you were part
corny.
of
Like
the
I
evolution.
like some KRS One. There's some from that era I like,
Big
but
Daddy Kane,
pretty
yeah.
much after that era on is where I got into it. And so to me, I don't like that. And I was playing it. I'm like, Boys in the Hood, right? I'm like, he's gonna like this. It's got that beep boop. It's got the beat. I'm like, he's gonna rock with it. Eazy-E comes in, and I was like, you know who Dr. Dre is? I'm like, that's Dre right there.
Yeah.
And
You right there.
3 lines into it, he paused it. He's like, Dad, I want to change it. I was like, you didn't even give it a chance. But then I instantly thought, I was like, this is the equivalent of that old hip hop I didn't like. This sounds like cool. This sounds like Big Herc in them or something. I'm like, I get it. If it's not his flavor, it's not what he was expecting to hear. It's not the cadence. It's not the whatever. But I was like, I'm gonna revisit that. I want him to give some other hip hop a try. But yeah, this was like literally 2 days ago. 2 days ago, I played Boys in the Hood for him, and he wasn't feeling
Guarantee
it.
you, the closer that y'all get as he gets older, he's gonna start liking it more, because then it's a association with you and the moments that you guys have together. Like, listen, when my dad was here, when I was taking care of him for a month, putting him up in my house, I was playing James Brown. I was playing like all these things that I grew up on that they were playing in the house that I wasn't really on like that. But now later on, like that's on my Spotify playlists, several of them.
When did your dad pass away?
Oh no, he's still around.
When you said at the house, I just assumed. I was assuming. My bad.
Actually, when I brought him here to live in my house, it was to save his life.
Oh wow.
Because he ended up having to be on dialysis because he just simply let himself go. And I was told that, he couldn't live where he was at because it was on the 2nd floor and he was too weak, right? And where he was at, it was in the hospital, right? Because that's where he was, being taken care of. So it was either be somewhere where you can live and get dialysis treatment, or be in the hospital and get dialysis treatment. And I'm like, nah. So I drove up. I was taking his phone call. I drove up, and I told Natalie, later, this isn't an option. I understand this is going to be less than ideal, but I'm in a position to save my dad's life, and I'm going to do that. So I got in my car. I drove up to the South Suburban Hospital, got him in a wheelchair, and we had a long talk. For that 2-hour car ride, I'm like, listen, I am my own man now. You're about to be in my house. There's certain things and how we do things, and I'm going to show you how to live like a king. Hey. I'm going to show you how a Muldrow lives. And before he left, because I said, you're only going to be in here for a month, because I'm not about, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're your own man. A big part of this was on you. You didn't take care of yourself. I'm going to show you how to take care of yourself. Natalie's going to make our food for her and and I'm going to make yours. So I would go shopping. Like, he would pay me because I'm like, none of this for free. Okay. You're going to Venmo me the money or whatever. I'm going to go out. I'm going to shop for you. I'm going to make your food, all this stuff. He ended up doing a Meals on Wheels service for people. I think it's a Mother's brand, I believe it's called. And they would FedEx 88 meals to the house, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I would prep all that. I would store it in our refrigerator, in our freezer, and stuff like that. And he would essentially begin to living on his own, but under my guidance. Right. And so by the time that he was getting ready to leave, I'm like, hey, man, listen, I see that you're doing well and everything, but you're still my old man. You're still my dad. You can still teach me some things. So teach me how to live, what it means to be in this position, and how you're going to come back from that. Teach me what it's like to be a man in your position at your age. Like your lady done left you because your health went by the wayside and you can't take care of her, and she's too advanced in age in her life for her to take care of you. Show me something. So when I took him back home, dropped him off. When I went to go see him on Father's Day weekend, my man was standing tall. He had a nice new red shirt on. He had, one of his little cowboy hats or whatever that he likes to wear. He's got his, his nice little cane, and he's walking around proud. He's like, this is my son right here. This is why I'm here right now. And he's doing his thing, living on his own. He making his own food. Like we made food together Father's Day earlier this year, like he barbecued, I prepped, he cooked. You know what I'm saying? And like he was, I mean, it was a beautiful thing. I mean, even at his in his position, like he was still, like I'm still his son, and he can still teach me something. I would say that was the biggest takeaway for me.
Man, so what I'm not cracking that can of worms open. We're trying to wind this thing down,
Right,
and yeah, that's
right.
and like I said, we reveal things through conversation, and what I just mentioned there off camera will come out, but a lot of people don't publicly know that yet. So we're gonna keep that in our back pocket. I don't know if this is gonna be the way to share, but it's gonna come out.
That's what's up.
That's funny. We'll just live it. Let the mystery
right.
stay elusive. Man, real quick, just before I let you go, do you want to run down any last thing about what's up with this? You being you know what? The way you on my radar.
Oh,
my
yeah.
friend and yours, Dale Day.
Oh, let's go.
Shout out Dale. That's
Shout
one of
out
these
to
people
Dale.
look at. And I use again. You got certain influences in your life, right? Dale's someone that in school we were always friendly to each other. Okay. We had different cliques.
Oh, y'all go way back.
I knew him in like junior high or something. I never rocked with Dale. I never. Hey, what's your number, buddy? Let's hang out. Let's do the sleepovers. Let's I don't know. We didn't go party. I was big in the party scene when I was a kid. That's
Understood.
what life was about.
Yeah.
I was trying to get party and hang out with ladies.
Gotcha.
and get money with my knucklehead friends. But Dale wasn't someone I rocked with like that. But he's someone in passing we were nice to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of what Gary Vee says. It's like, be the nice kid. When you're in school, it's not cool to be the nice. Be the nice kid. Because you know why? 20 years later, that's who you do business with. And it's like
shout out to Gary.
No, if you don't know it, Gary with a G. Gary Vaynerchuk, you rock with Gary?
That's how I came up.
Gary's the man. But look at us. So Dale's just someone that we was just always, in passing, we were nice to each other. I might have sat next to him once and we shot the shit a little bit. But other than that, I never really rocked with Dale.
Yeah.
Well, fast forward, we're grown-ups. He went to the Marines and I went to the Army. So we had that in common. And we both have small businesses. And then he reached out to me on social media, or I honestly don't remember how the connection was made. But Dale's just always been super nice. Yeah. And then when I see him, it's just like when I see people I like, I can't help myself. I get real excited. And I talk a lot. And I'm like, whoa. And I'm like, oh, he does that around me. And I'm like, oh, me and Dale just get along. That's the dude. I like Dale. Right. I did his logo for Recreational Lumberjack.
Yep. Super dope.
And thank you. And he's an idea guy. Dale hits me up all the time with different ideas. And I'm like, bro, I just don't have the bandwidth for it. And that's, again, he's almost the example, one of the examples, like someone I've known forever. Like, bro, can you do this? I'm like, man, like right now, I can't, but I'll let you know if and when I can. Yeah. And then he's never like, oh, okay. He's, oh, brother, if it's meant to be, it'll be. And just, you let me know, yada, yada. He's just always so positive and uplifting. Dale's just a hell of a guy. Yeah. And anyone that needs any tree work in the central Illinois area, check out my man Dale Day. I say,
lumberjack, I'm telling you.
You heard it here, folks. I say he's the nicest guy you'll ever meet with a chainsaw. And I think it was through Dale that you were put on my radar. I'm not sure what y'all's connection is or why, but for whatever reason, I associate you with Dale.
Yeah, the gym.
And so maybe it was through the gym then. So before we get out of here, tell me about your relationship with Dale.
Yeah, he and I met in the gym, as a coach, and I was coaching some classes that he would be in, and I mean, it was so long ago that like I don't even remember exactly how things transpired. But even then, like I said, I started doing video work with my phone back in 2017 or 2018 that they started hiring me full time as the multimedia specialist, so pictures and video. And he had a service, and he was like, hey man, I gotta so I started doing work with him because, telling me about his tree business. And I was like, listen, I got a drone that I just got. And so there was a job on GE Road. It ended up being 3 days because like it rained and stuff like that. And so I was out there just making, this video, like just shooting. It was kind of like behind the scenes essentially, but it was really just more a detailed experience of how he does what he does. And I was like, hey man, I want to have you do a voiceover for this video that I'm gonna put together. And he sent it to me via a voice message and what have you, and I laid it over and I sent him the product like within a week, because I work like that. And I was really more like a couple days. And I was like, you can do this on YouTube. So it was a 16:9, so that way it can be on like anywhere, right? Very versatile. And that's pretty much how he got started. And then he like broke his arm, or he had an accident, and I saw him back in the gym training again. And I was like, dog, we need to do like a return video, a return of the lumberjack, because he was recovering. And so I would shoot some shots of him being at the gym. And then I actually told about my clients at the time about his tree business, because they were trying to clean up their house to sell so that they can move. And he actually ended up going out, and they waited 6 months because at first he was too expensive. And then they realized that like he's that guy. So they waited 6 months for him to get out there, and he hit me up. I brought my drone out there. This was like near McLean area, and I did that video for him. And that's probably like the most recent one that he plays all the time. He had new equipment and stuff like that. He had the lift, so it was like an elevated version of himself. And then I would invite him over for what I call Steak and Crown Friday, which was a means to reward myself for like a week's worth of hard work. So I buy a nice cut of steak, usually a ribeye, and at the time it was a Crown Royal Peach Crown in particular, which was rare at the time, but now it's like everywhere.
You ever sip on the Chivas Regal?
I know about the Regal.
It's like I think it's still Crown Royal. I want to say it's the higher tier one.
Oh.
A buddy turned me on to that back into my sipping days. I like some shit. Check out, you and Dale should sip on a bottle of Chivas Regal. Maybe I have to send one over.
I did. I remember. I recall that like maybe one or two other times, but most recently I was out there, and at his place, because he would host it. He was like, it could be either your place or my place. Now the last time I was like, oh, your place? That's a new development, dog. We had a bottle of Blanton's barrel straight from the barrel, like untouched. The only thing that touched it was air. I had about 4 sips of that. It was 130 proof, and I was cashed. I was done, bro. But he was like, man, I wanted to wait about a month. I've been sitting on this for about a month, and I wanted to share it with you, bro.
Nice.
And so I sent him a voice message telling him how thankful and grateful I was. And he sent this back to me. It's about 30 seconds of the voice message, but this is how he, this speaks to who he is as we know him to be in terms of like always being that guy. I'm gonna play this real quick for you. Start at 23 seconds in the thing.
When the divine moment arises, because it's always like that, I'm grateful that I get to share stuff like that bourbon, the food that we make, and the fellowship. For me, it's like this experience of gratitude at really a deep, genuine, and authentic level, I think, because neither one of us are apologizing for the way we converse. I mean, we're being authentic to ourselves.
And just that part right there shows you how we know Dale to be. You understand what I'm saying? And that's ultimately why I choose to spend my time with you, and why I'm grateful that you spend your time with me, is the mindset and the understanding of how wonderful life truly is, regardless of its trials and tribulations, because I'm in the business of trials and tribulations, because like trial and error, you know what I'm saying? Like you got to see the error in your trials, and I'm all about that. You understand what I'm saying? And being around like-minded people, and Dale is one of those people.
Dale's an amazing guy, fantastic energy. I think that soundbite speaks to his character.
Indeed.
And he said, what? Authentic gratitude? And I think that's a fantastic high note to end it on. Before my camera's all shut down here, baby, we got to run. Donovan, I cannot thank you enough for your time.
Yes,
this
sir.
has been fantastic, bro. Thank you
Man,
so much.
I appreciate you, dog. And this is going to be way better than what it is now. And I'm grateful to be a part of this journey, if you will.
My man, let's grow.
Let's go.
Jumped out in this fresh gear. Next year is my best year. This year is my flex on. Like a shoe deal with a check on them. Might be like a Nike with a